Why is his name yellow like that?
I think they got a special, but we're back. Hello. Sorry. I DDoSed myself. Haha. No, just kidding. mm. You know, it was so funny. I was connecting to the database, and then it went down at that time, and I was like, "Wait, but it's not connecting. It's an infinite loop. Why am I not logging in?" And then I was like, "Oh, I see." Okay,
Does
hold
this
on.
happen often to you?
No,
Not
no,
having internet?
no. It's just like now. It's due. Okay, so incorrect password. We get into the this. Incrementing login attempts. Good. Okay, I think that worked because we didn't get that other message.
Mm.
Can you explain this one to me? Because this. Ooh. Oh yeah, these were all the database connections. I couldn't connect because I wasn't connected.
Yeah.
So can you explain this one to me? It's a bit confusing. I have no idea what's going on here in increment login attempts. Right? It takes callback as a function. Then when you call
Um,
increment login, is error the
Wait, one
callback
second.
or
Go
like?
back. Go back.
Mm.
1 second.
Without reading the rest, I first want to know what's the callback. What do you pass into it?
Mhm.
Because when I call increment login attempts, I pass it an error. Oh.
Yeah, the error function. No, the whole function is the callback.
What?
The whole function is the callback.
Which function?
Where you have the error as the parameter of the function.
Oh, so error is the whole function.
No, this is why I need my mouse to select stuff. From after the second bracket. So error, the whole arrow function is the callback. That's what I want to say.
Right, yeah, no, I got that, but...
This is why I need my mouse.
Well, if you need your mouse and your explaining is awful...
Is it? Or your understanding is awful because I just said.
Maybe. Yeah, I get the callback. Now I'm exhausted. I'm like trying, I'm holding it, because this part I get. So this dot update, it's calling update on the database, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's calling
After
the
the
callback?
update, after the update, you're calling the callback. So when the
Okay.
update has been done, you're
You call the
doing the
callback.
function. Yeah.
Okay. And... Oh,
Select the whole function. Select the whole function.
the whole
No.
function.
Where does the arrow function start?
The arrow function here.
Yeah, so everything in there is getting called.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
I get it now. It's a slow day. It's a very slow day.
That's why if I had my mouse, I could just select it and say, "This is it."
Why do you have a named function? Because my linter complains otherwise. It doesn't like non-named functions. I had it non-named. Also, I would have an arrow function, but this doesn't work with an arrow function. At least with Mongoose. We've had a fun time with that, didn't we?
Very fun time.
Okay, so just explain the error part, because now I get what you're passing to it. Oh, what is the error again? Sorry.
The error is the data that comes back from the update function.
Yeah, okay, so this, essentially. Because this has its own callback. Because I'm confused with callback hell, because check update.
Yeah.
Update, well, I can't.
This update is a function of Mongoose, I would think.
Yeah, it is, and it has a callback.
It updates something. You'll set what you need to update, I think, and then execute the callback function. The callback returns, I think, an error and data.
Yeah.
Probably.
So if I needed that, I could log them, but in this case, it's just returning the one thing because I didn't specify. And then when that is done, it calls the callback, right?
Yeah. So in the callback, go to the callback.
Which is this.
So in here, you just specified error, but if you did comma data, you would get probably some data back.
Yeah. So this is the callback, right? Essentially.
Yeah. Correct. Yes.
Okay. I've never done it this way. That's why it's confusing for me. So you pass. So that's essentially the function. Oh. I get it. I should have looked at the definition here, because the definition takes a
Yeah.
callback. That makes sense now, yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
that's the
correct.
callback. The callback is the entire. Okay, I think I know where I'm getting confused. In the fact that we get a response, and in that very response, it's also the callback. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Maybe
correct.
not
Yeah.
confusing for you, but that is for me. I've never done
Yeah.
it that way. Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm trying to say. You passing it a function, yet in the very same function that you pass it, you're also getting a response.
Yes, correct.
It's like it's from the future but the past, because you're gonna give it something and later you're gonna get a response in the very same thing that you sent it. How does that work? It's not even a promise, is it?
Uh,
Because we're not using promises. Oh, it's a callback. Never mind. Yeah.
yeah, it's a callback.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So now let's check the database. So we have 3 login attempts. Uh-oh. We're bad. Okay, so I need to stop it from logging. What don't we need? We don't need it to log that anymore. Okay, so inc error. Does this make sense to you? Inc error. Where's inc error? Here. It returns null. I assume because there's no error from Mongoose's update, right?
I think so, yeah.
And then the second part is this. I think that's the data you're referring to, right?
Yes.
Something like bison types timestamp. This is what I was doing,
Yeah.
I assume. So we don't need that. Okay. So I've commented that out. And then the second one is this in inc login attempts, which is over here. When it gets into there, we have login attempt. Oh, we basically have the user. This is the user.
Mm-hmm.
Same as before. Okay, cool. We don't need that anymore. Anything else? No, that's it. Okay, so let's log in 2 more times incorrectly. So what if I log in with a user that's not in our database? It shouldn't do anything, should it? Incorrect username, yeah. It obviously can't store for something that doesn't exist. Poor Jamar. His account's gonna get blocked. Inc login attempts return value. Wait, why is it still returning? I thought oh, okay, it's somewhere else. There it is. Okay, here, you ready? Final one.
Okay.
Watch it not work. I mean, you're here. Now it's obviously gonna work.
Oh my god.
Well, it has to work. I'm just gonna like force you to just... Okay, incrementing login attempts. Good. Okay, so the final one now means it should give us the error of exceeded or something. I can't remember what I named it. Okay, and still saying incrementing login attempts. Let's check the database. What? How do we have 9 login attempts? We didn't do it that many times. We locked now. Check, by the way.
Maybe you're calling the function double because it's literally 2 times.
Wait, let's try it. Yeah, you're right. Auth. Wait, but are we logged in? What if I go to success? No, we're not. Okay, good. So it didn't log us in. Okay, so watch.
Maybe the logout should.
No, the logout shouldn't. We were on 9. We are on 11 now. Okay, so let's try to debug where.
It's 2 times.
But it seemed to only call it once, right? Look. Wait. We did it once, twice. Okay, here's the logic for it. If user is locked, which you are, return user.increment login attempts. Oh, this is the if thing again, right?
Yeah.
So it gets out of here and then it continues with validating the password. Actually, I'm willing to bet. Let's continue. I am the reason. Watch. If we get I am the reason, then, you know, pretty simple. Here we go, look for where's I am the reason. There you go. See? It's his
Yeah.
fault. Same issue as before. We're in an
So
if,
just
and we're returning out of the if statement. Wait, but I am returning return. That's how I solved it last time. I was in an if, and I returned. Do you see? And that did work, but
yeah.
now it's not working. Oh, because then are scoped as well. If you return out of this,
Yeah.
then it continues to the next then.
Yeah, correct. So you should return an error. Um,
But it's returning null. Oh, you mean I should throw?
yeah,
Or what? How would you handle this?
just throw.
Then why was it
Then
never issue with this one? If you had the incorrect username, it never tried to go here. Or maybe because the password also was not found.
Yeah, maybe that, yeah.
Watch,
Because the validate password wasn't correct.
watch, I'll show you. I'll put in a non-existent username with a non-existent password, and it just says incorrect login, and that's all. It doesn't do anything else, when it should be saying a lot of other things. Why? So it returns, it gets into here, return user.validate password. User.validate password is takes a user and a password. Wait, don't we give it that? Password and user. Password we know, what is... Oh, it has them both. Oh, and this returns false, right? Wait, but it should get into this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go to above because you're scrolling too much.
Sorry.
Let me check.
This is the only thing that's firing. If not, user return done null false. And if it was getting into validate password, we would have seen this message. Passport valid. And there's nothing. Literally just incorrect username.
So just try to return on below the other return. Yeah, just copy return.
Hold on.
Copy return on line above 58.
I see what the issue is. It's returning out of the if. Now we're here. So it gets
That shouldn't
here.
be the case.
No, I'm saying here, that's what it's doing. When we return out of this, we return out of the if, no? You're saying
The
it shouldn't
return
be
should
doing that.
return out of the scope. An if function is always an inner scope, so it looks out of the parent scope. So regularly you would return out of this parent scope.
Right, okay, well, let's try that again. I restarted the server. Incorrect password. What do we get now? We still get I'm the reason passport valid false. So that means that it's still getting here despite the if. So even if what you're saying is true, I mean obviously it is true, it should return out of the scope. It should get here, but that means it should have skipped this. But it didn't. So explain to me so I better understand this. You say it returns out the scope. Right? Wait, you still there? I used to think I get if scopes right, but now I clearly don't. If user is locked, which we are, else we wouldn't. Wait, do we get the message account is locked? Oh, we don't. We don't get account is locked. Okay. I think it's because of that return actually. We're returning immediately. By the way, if you can hear me, I can't hear you. Or FlightX. Interesting. Let's log what is locked is. User is locked value is false. It's not locked. Okay. So where we're updating is locked. This dot lock until. So if it exists, first of all, and this dot lock until is greater than the date now. Because this doesn't work in that scope. Why didn't I realize that sooner? Flesh, hey! How are you doing? Good to see you back. Did I finish my regex? Didn't I tell you last night that I gave up on it? That we will not force the user. We will just use it as a guide as to whether or not it is or isn't valid. We'll just, if it triggers our regex, we just ask the user, are you sure the email address is correct? That's all. Wait, what have I done wrong now? Why is my function incorrect? I did everything correctly, no? Get. It's a function, no? Function is locked. What it is. Oh, there you go, that's why. Do I have to return this? There you go. Return Okay, now we should start seeing something. I've basically added brute force protection to my login logout page. You could have changed your mind and actually bought the best emotes validation which doesn't exist. We should get an error now, hopefully. There, finally. User is locked, value true. Incrementing login attempts. I am the reason. Wait, you're still getting to I am the reason? I am the reason, password valid, false, false. Why? Flesh, can you explain something to me? Because the person that I've been on a call with has magically vanished. I hope they're okay. I'm still on a call with them. I think they're busy with something. I hope they're busy with something. But can you explain what's going on? I always get confused. So I know a return returns out of the current scope, but sometimes it doesn't, and that's why I get confused. If you're in an if statement inside of a function and you return, does it return out of the if and continues the function running, or does it return out of the function? Because from what I remember, at least what I know, if you're in an if and you return from an if, it returns within the function and the function continues running. Is that correct? I don't get it. If you return, it stops the function. Really? So regardless if you're in an if, even if you're in nested ifs, multiple ifs, really? You 100% sure? Diacrew, hey! Or is it Diatrue? What would you expect it to do? I don't know, I'm confused. How cute is this? Oh my god, people are amazing. Pure CSS, I can't believe this shit. This is a new art form. How amazing is this? Pure CSS. That's crazy. Wow. I swear there's something else going on here. They use like Photoshop or something. Or some generator, and then it gives them the CSS that they need. Could you share that link? Yeah, sure. Here you go. You're welcome. I'm gonna create a... Let's test something. Unreachable code after return statement. Wait, what? So if true will never run because true is not defined. True is not a variable. Oh, it's reserved. Yeah, I know that this is impossible to reach. I'm not worried about that. A is true. Is it not console.alert? Oh, it's not. It's window.alert, isn't it? Well, I can't even remember. I don't use alert anymore. It's been a long time. What the hell? Why am I not getting the alert? Anyway, screw it. We're just gonna do console.log. Because apparently I can't even get alert working. Okay, what is going on right now? Has it just been a long day for me and I just don't get this? Right, you need to call the function. I was about to think about that. Yep, you're right. Good job. What am I doing? It's not an anonymous function. There you go. Okay, so it returns completely out of the function. Okay. So always, no exception. Okay, that's what I thought. But I think the thens are confusing me. Okay, so it will always return outside of the function. No matter what is going on, will never continue. Great. So I understand that. Thank you, Cup. Thank you, Cup. I appreciate it. So, now that I know that is true, here's the confusing part. If the user is locked, which it is, we verified it, right? The user is locked. It is true. You see that, right? The user is locked. And we should get a message. Account is locked. Do we get account is locked? Account is locked. Now here's the confusing part. Why does I am reason become first? I think it's because it's async. Yes, that's our problem. So we getting this happening before this is resolved. Okay. I see the problem. So because this is not returning, it's continuing on. It's not waiting because it's synchronous, right? Because notice I am the reason comes before all of this. There's I am the reason, and then eventually we get max login. Yeah. That's what I was thinking as well. Okay, now here's... Wait, okay. So here's my question for you, Flesh. That will actually explain why it's still continuing. Because it wasn't waiting, so it never got into this and the execution kept going. If I return inside of a then, from what I remember, if I return inside of this then, it's going to go to the next then, right? Or not? Callbacks, right? Yep, fun times. What happens if you return inside of a then and there are other thens in the chain? Right, it continues the chain. So my question is, and I think I solved it before once, how do you prevent, how do you completely exit out of a chain of thens? My solution in the end was to use async await, because then it treats it as a normal synchronous function basically. Is there an easier way? Sorry. Yeah. So if it's a resolve, throw. Right. Yes, that was it. And it goes to the catch. Okay. What happens in a case like this? What happens in a case like this? Do something, then let's say inside the then you had like a throw, okay? Error. And here you had a catch. Okay, error. Well, error if we want to be technical. Okay, and then do something else. Then, if I had a then here, does this continue? Does it keep going? Isaac, hey! Haven't seen you in a while. How you been? I would use a reject instead of a throw, right? Because then you have full control if it's a promise. But then you would need this entire thing to be a new promise equal to resolve. Well, you know what I mean, resolve reject, right? Yes, with whatever you returned in the catch. Okay. And if I remember correctly, the throw will go to the nearest catch. Oh, here was something that I wanted to know as well. If I had a then here. If I had a then here. I know this is not valid syntax, forgive me, but if I throw an error here, will it ignore this then and go to this catch, right? Even though there's something between it. That's what I feel should happen. You've never streamed whenever I've been on Twitch lately? Sorry, Isaac, I have been streaming rather late. Today is nice and early. I started earlier today. I'm going to try get into a more regular, earlier time. Yes, it skips it. Okay. Why, is there a better term than skips? That it's in quotation marks? So we throw, we get to the catch, and then we continue if there's anything else. If there's nothing else after the catch, it just ends in the catch, right? So it doesn't return anything. So I assume if you then call it in a return and you have no return value, you just end up in the catch. The value of the function would probably be undefined, right? I assume if the last thing in the chain is a catch and there was an error and it goes there and you have nothing else, you're not returning a value. If you had to check the value of that function, it would be undefined, wouldn't it? Oh, nice. What you eating? Okay, so I get that. He's eating flesh. The 39th flesh, right, Isaac? You're gonna be the 39th. He needs another victim. Time to go, Isaac. Okay, so now we can understand why there's an error here. Because I'm returning. So can you guys then explain to me, hold on, if you throw somewhere in the chain, it goes to the catch with whatever you've thrown as an argument, right? So explain to me this logic. Done is a callback which should tell Passport to not allow the user to log in. So if I return done here, what happens? Because it's still continuing into the then chain, but we already know. So normally if you return with a value, that value will be accessible in the then, right? But if I'm calling done, with parameters. What's actually happening here? Oh wait, this would have worked, right? Wait, would it have? Would it not have? We already know the reason it's not doing what it's supposed to do is because this is a async function. But even if I did get it working, if I return done, will it still continue down this chain? It doesn't do anything. What do you mean by that? Yeah, because this is explained. What I've noticed, this is weird. What I've noticed is when the username is incorrect and I return done with these parameter values, it never gets here. But I thought if you return from a then, it goes to the next then. How does that work? If you return line for day 7, it should go to the next then. Okay, but it doesn't. Can you somehow explain that to me? Is it because of how done works? Look, I'll show you. Nothing in our output log, right? We're going to go auth. I'm going to enter a user that doesn't exist with a password that doesn't exist. Check my log. It literally just says incorrect username. Now, if it was working the way we think it does, it should have gotten into validate password with password and user, and this would have returned into the then, valid password being false, and the user not existing. Oh, is it because of the user find one? That's the thing that started this entire chain to begin with. Is it because, oh, because it never gets into the... Wait, no, it does. It's just no. I'm so confused now. What is going on? It's finding a user, the user doesn't exist. It does get into the then, else we would not have gotten the incorrect username message. It returns done, but then why aren't we getting here? Why aren't we getting into validate password? Why aren't we getting I am the reason? Huh. I literally just got the incorrect username, that's all. Even though it should have then theoretically continued. Once we return done here, it's almost like it stops everything because it's the done. If I just returned... Wait, let's see what happens if I just return. Without anything, just return. Still. How does that work? This is why I don't understand returns, because it's so inconsistent. Can done throw, but I removed done now. I literally just returned. And it still didn't continue down here. How does that work? The lovely noise of an extremely confused programmer, thank you. You exit the function. Yeah, but you specified that if you exit in a then and there's another then, it will continue, no? Oh, wait. Is it because this return is not calling validate password? And validate password requires valid password and use... No, wait. It would just have an error. It would be undefined, no? No, I don't get an error. That's the thing. Oh, he's right. He's right. Dear True is right. Then only continues if it's a promise that invoked it. And return is not a promise. That's why. User.validate password is a promise, and when this resolves because of the return, it continues. Right. Dear True, thank you. Thank you for preserving the little bit of sanity I have left. That makes sense. So any kind of return here would just completely exit it. So essentially this is the end. So dear True, if there's an error in here, I throw an error. We'll still go to this catch at the end, right? Even if there's other thens connected. They're all part of the same chain. It just won't get into the then, but it'll go to the catch if there was an error, right? Yeah, but what I mean, Flesh, is if there's no promise inside of this then, you can't call another then. It doesn't work. Thenables only work with promises. And we already used our promise in this then. Find one returns a promise. Once that is done, then. Return doesn't return a promise if there's nothing that has a promise in it. I'm saying in our case, I return with no promise. Therefore, you can't do the then. Why am I using then? Because first I need to make sure that the user exists in a database. Find one returns a promise, and it's easier to work with than a callback, because callback hell. I had this as a callback and it was an absolute mess, because you specifically have to wait for a database call which is asynchronous. Sorry. Yeah. No. Okay. We still got to the okay. Okay, but how does that work? Then why does the return here allow me to bypass the then? We don't get into the then. But I can't just rely on one callback, Lynn. Because Passport has a callback, then from Mongoose has a callback, or the find one has a callback. The password verification requires a callback. And because it's also bcrypt. So it wouldn't just be one. And it's never just one callback. There's a lot of systems in place here that rely on each other. Especially now with the user lockout. But yeah, Flesh, I don't know what's going on here then. Because when I return, it doesn't continue into the then here. It just completely stops. So unlike your example, that continued and got to the okay. Oh, but you don't have a return. That's why. Your example doesn't have a return. So obviously it's going to get down there. I'm talking about the return. You didn't return in your promise. Oh wait, you... Wait, weird. Yeah, I see. You originally had a return. They were just empty. I'm not used to doing it that way. I'm so confused. That doesn't help me. It makes it even worse. Because then by that logic it should have got into the then. So what is preventing it from getting into then? We know it's not done because I just returned a normal return without anything, and it also didn't continue. It didn't even get down to here. What if you try use pinky promises? Does find one return a normal promise? Yes. Find one returns a promise. And once the promise resolves, we go to the then. Try return at line 44. Okay, let me try. So on line 44. Before the if. Oh, then it works. Undefined, undefined. Then I continued. What the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe it makes sense to you. So something in the if is causing it to exit fully? If I return there, then it continues on with the then. But if I return inside this if, what? So I return here. What? What? So it's probably that it can't destructure undefined. What, you saying this? Well, we could try by removing that. No, incorrect username. Still, even though I removed the destructuring, it never gets there. No, I don't. I have no error. No error, nothing. I would have caught it in the catch. Actually, we have a thing here, but we are not logging. It's called to done. Console.error. This is probably where it's going to. This is probably where it's going to. Say hi to whoever opened that door. What? They're coming for you, Isaac. I have a catch, yes, exactly. I love how you say eats it. You flesh eater. That's where it went. There it is. Passport authentication error. Cannot destructure property valid password. There we go. It's like a throw. Hey, look at us. So it does still continue. The mystery has been debunked. Good. That's why I had this throw. Because if I don't do this throw, it continues. Now I know why I have the throw. So how do I throw and return done? How can I do both at the same time? Because this is an issue. I need to throw the error, so we stop, but I also need to return done. Oh, I don't need to. Or do I? No, I throw the error, and then the error will be inside of that. No, but I need error handling, but on the catch. Yeah. Oh, you're right. The message is the error message here. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I just catch. I just throw, and then incorrect username will be cool. Cool, good job. Now that we better understand this, if user is logged, okay, we need to still turn this into a async await. We need to get a promise. So user.inc logging attempts password error. Do I do a then, or what would be the best bet? But the problem is the callback is the function. And the return is in the callback. This is like so confusing. So how do I turn this into a then? That's some really good hearing you've got there, Isaac. I've never done something like this before, where you pass a function a callback, and in the function that you pass the callback in, you also pass it, you get the return value from the function that you pass in as a callback, which, wow. Does that confuse anyone else, or is it just me? I guess everything's confusing until you're used to it, huh? Just me, great. New promise resolve reject user inc login error data. If error, reject error. Then resolve data. I see. Does that allow it to continue? Do I need it to resolve? All I need it to do is, if the user is locked, but we can only get locked from I was writing that on a paper. Thank you, dear True. I appreciate it. Coding in Twitch chat, right? I get what you mean, though. Okay. Don't I have to return? I just do new promise, resolve, reject. Resolve, reject, user, inc, login attempts, error. Do I need data? I don't need data. Why do I need data? I see syntax errors, right? I see them too. Shh, ignore them. If error, return. Oh, you want me to reject with error? What about returning done in that? I need to pass done with the error. You want me to just resolve or reject with the error? I need to tell, I need to call done with the error so that the JS authentication, the passport authentication fails. And then I need to stop trying, so throw. Oh, will the catch rejected promises? If you reject a promise, does it go to a catch or not? Because I know unhandled promises can go to a catch, but what about a rejected promise? Is there a need for a catch? Why would you catch it? Not. I'm conflicted now. Not, yes. Yes, no. Who's right? Who's wrong? Fight. What? Okay, wait, so what's the outcome? I need to return, reject. So new promise, resolve, reject. If error, return, reject error, right? Now I need to return. I'm so confused. I know I should stop streaming and get some sleep, but I still want to try as best as I can, but I can't learn new things. The only thing I'm capable of when I'm in this state is doing things I already know. And unfortunately, this is not really something I'm familiar with. I've barely touched the surface of it and managed to solve one or two things. I really need you guys' help. This is what I need to have happen. If the user is locked, which it is currently now, we need to run increment login attempts to see that if the time passed is up so that we can reset the login attempt and then add a new login attempt. And then when we are done, I need to return done either way and say null, false. That's the issue. I don't get what done does. No, I don't need done now. I just need to stop the execution if we get into login attempts. I need to call login attempts. Oh, you mean this? Instead of return, I'll resolve this? But I can't resolve it down there if we're inside the if statement. Because that will only happen if the user is locked. I need to validate the password whether the user is locked or not. I know how the then syntax looks like. I'm confused about the promise inside of this if. Yeah, exactly. Promises inside the if is the issue. So it needs to always get to validate password. So long as obviously, well, this gets thrown. So if the user is not locked, it's going to get to validate password. But if the user is locked, this needs to run. And I need to wait for inc login attempts to finish because it's asynchronous. That's why I want a then in there, but I don't know how to get a then in there when I'm passing a function which returns a value. This is what confuses me. Then is a callback. So inc login attempts, and I pass in a callback function. But at the same time, error is inside the callback function that you can get your value from. It's mind blowing. I don't get it. In the very same callback, I'm also getting the value. So I'm doing it all inside of the callback. There must be another way. This is getting ridiculous now. And I don't want to go slap an async await on this. But at this point in time, it looks like it's going to be the easiest thing to do. Let me have a look. Yeah, sure. If exist user, where do you get if exist user from? What is exist user? Is that my user in my then? Yeah, but this doesn't work. Increment login attempts doesn't work. I don't think you understand it. Same way as me. You and I both don't understand it. At least I know what's happening. Increment login attempts needs to be given a callback function. This, what you see inside of here, is the callback passed to increment login attempts. It's confusing, I know. Same for me. And then at the very same time, we're also doing things inside of it. If it was that simple, then yes, of course I would call then. But it needs a callback put in. I think a lot of this mess up and confusion and everything happens because I'm using promises and everyone else in the guides, because they're outdated, or not outdated, they're used to it, are using callbacks. So I've been trying to convert all the callbacks to promises. And obviously it works for a lot of it, but then you get cases like this that's built around the callback. What if I didn't pass it a callback? What would happen? Let's find out. So increment login attempts requires a callback, but what if I didn't pass it a callback? Return this.update. So it will just return an error to us. You know, I don't think we need to call this callback anymore. I think we can remove this callback. Watch. Remove the callback. We don't take a callback. Okay. Now we can call increment logins. like that. And then we can call then. Response, right? You guys with me? This should theoretically work, right? Do something here. And then we catch if there was an error. And we throw the error. Right? Then we don't need a promise, resolve, reject, and none of this stuff. Are we on the same page? Then I bring this stuff back. If response, we don't return. We also just throw a response. I think that should work. Let's go try. Incorrect username. Cool, that worked. And then if I enter a correct username with the incorrect password, reference CB is not defined. Oh god. User is locked true. Where's CB now? I thought I removed CB. Oh, it's trying to... There we go. Right, did we do good? Is that essentially it? That guy complicated it with callbacks? Oh no, we're getting to I am the reason. Wait, is this the old I am the reason? And we got the return value now. I see a lot of throwing errors for flow control. We're getting to I am the reason though, that's bad. Why is it still getting there? If user is locked, user.increment, why is it still getting down here? I told it to increment login attempts. Then, when it gets a response, throw a response, otherwise throw error. How's it still doing that? I think it's a get because asynchronous, right? Oh, I think this user.validate should be inside of the then there. But this should be if response. So if response, throw a response, otherwise continue like that, right? That is the flow. So we have an if. Oh no, but now it will only work if the user is locked. Oh my god. Oh my god. I really don't want to turn it into an async function. But at this point in time, it's starting to look like the easiest option. I left for 5 minutes and everything changed? Yeah, don't leave me alone for 5 minutes. Yeah, so I realized the issue here. Now it will only return if the user is validated, if the user's account is locked. So obviously that doesn't work. But now if I have it outside here, it will still get down here. And it won't wait because obviously asynchronous code versus synchronous. So it gets down here before this even gets done. Wait, why not have an if else? That should work, right? That's not the same. Because if it's locked, else, I think the else will solve our problem. That should work. There you go. Is locked? True. Incrementing login attempts account is locked. Nothing else happened. And then still tries to get into valid password. Why though? Why is it still trying to get into there? I threw an error. If user is locked, throw a response. Oh, because we have a catch. That's why, right? So the throw goes to this catch. And it's also catching that one. Don't catch the error, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm seeing now too. You're not returning anything in the if. But I'm throwing. Which if do you mean? Throw is a return. Yeah, I know, but what do you mean by returning? Hey, thanks, Sansa and Steroids. It's some study piano music. Why do I need to return it though? I thought the throw is a return. If there's a response, throw, and it will go all the way down to the catch at the end. Explain why I need to return there? Doesn't the throw automatically scope itself out? The throw isn't in the same function we're talking about. Oh. I just realized we probably don't need the if response either. We don't care about the response, do we? We don't need the response. We just need to know that we got into the login attempt, and then when it's done, we need to throw the account is locked. We don't care what the status is. The status is just what the update was. We just want to know then, as in when it's done, throw the error account is locked. And if there is somehow an error, that should be caught anyway at the end. Okay, let's go try that. Jmar and a password. There we go. User is locked. True. Increment login attempts. Account is locked. Error. Account is locked. There you go. Why is it saying error twice? Did I say error? No, I didn't. Oh, because I'm not doing error.message. And then we need to do some proper error handling, but that can be for another day. That should be it, right? Are we happy with that? And now let me just see if the if it's calling it double now, because that was the other issue I had. Okay, so login attempts are currently at 30. Jesus. Okay, after this it should just be 31, not 32. If it's 32, we gotta figure out what's calling it twice. It is now on 31. Great. 5374. 5374. Remember that. 5374. 5374. I want to see if it's updating the timestamp every time I fail. Lock and Tor. It's still 5374. Shouldn't the lock and Tor time update each time you have a failed attempt? Okay, so we locked. Account is locked. Great. I don't know why you're throwing without any condition in the then. Let me see. Oh, because I know that if you get into this function, your account is locked. Because I already know that here, if the user is locked, I already know you're locked. So all I'm doing here is incrementing the amount of times that you're locked. And the reason this is here is in case the time has elapsed. So let's say I locked you for 2 hours, but you are locked because your status is locked. Now you try again and it sees the time has passed. Then what it's going to do is basically be like, okay, time's up, resetting your login count. And then it locks you again. because even after 2 hours, you know what I mean, it extends the lock time. And then here, if valid password, wait, I need to know what error and test is. Okay, so let's see what happens if I log in properly now. Okay, I logged in, but I still got locked. Okay, but that's what should be happening. So let me manually unlock myself now. I'm gonna set login attempts to 0. Now it should let me log in. Unauthorized? What? Account is locked. Oh, because I need to clear the time as well. It's based on time and the amount of locks. Okay, so I guess you don't need to wait for the promise to resolve and can just throw synchronously, but yeah, that's fine either way. Yeah, so is it wrong the way that I'm doing it though? The reason I need to wait is because that function doesn't return immediately. It needs to check the database. Okay, let's remove lock control. Let's delete that. Update. Lock control needs to go. Lock control, you need to go. I need to delete you. I need to delete you. How do I delete you? There you go. Lock control is gone. Okay, so I should be able to log in now. Great, I'm logged in. Okay, what happens now? User is locked, false. I am the reason. I love these messages. So we got I am the reason because wait, what the shit? Did I not have this in an else? Did I not have this in an else? Ah, okay, it removed it, but that's fine. Passport valid, true. Do we get here true? Request in home user undefined. Authenticate in home false. Uh-oh. Something else is going on now. Now our authentication status is not saving. Oh no, it is apparently. Okay, wait. Log out. Authenticate in home false. Okay, that's fine. But if I log in now, it shouldn't say it's false in home. It should be true. If it's not true, we messed something up. Request in home user. Authenticate in home true. Okay, it is fine now. So what do I want to test? There was something I needed to test. Oh, right. Will it automatically unlock us? Great, your account is locked. Now, how will you access your profile? You need to email the admin. What did I want to do? I wanted to, oh yeah, set the time. So let's make a copy of this. This is our original. Our new time in milliseconds. So 1000 is a second. We're gonna wait 15 seconds. How about that? 15-second lockout time. And if I really wanted to, I could convert it to a timestamp and show you when the next time unlock will be, but I'm not gonna do that. Too much effort. What will the app do? Stop! You know that I'm wasting time on something that won't even matter. This, what we're doing now, is unrelated to the app. I just wanted a way to log in and log out, because I always wanted to do it. Okay, let's go get ourselves banned. Oh god. Now it just sits there forever. Why? Lockout time has already been declared. Oh, yeah, I know about that. That's old. What's causing it to hang right now? Users locked false. I am the reason. Passport valid false. False. Incrementing login attempt. Okay, but why didn't it get a... Why is it just hanging now? So it got in here. Valid passport. Wait. Where did it go? Where's the last thing it got? Incrementing incorrect password. There. And then it said incrementing login attempts, which I think is in this function. I think here it says... There. Incrementing login attempts. So it gets to here. Then it's supposed to return this dot update. Updates. I'm going to dinner. Yeah, true. I hope it's awesome. Thank you so much for earlier and for sharing your tips with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you have an awesome one. Why would you lock the user on login attempts? Why not just rate limit the logins? No, it's not on login attempts. After 5 unsuccessful login attempts to prevent brute forcing. And if you enter your password incorrect 5 times, God. You know, first time, okay. Second time. Third time. Fourth time. First time you're just asking for it. I think I'm being fair. 5 times, no? Hell, my phone wants to lock me out after 5 times and I can't bypass that. Oh, it's again because of asynchronous, right? This thing's kicking my ass today. If not valid password, return user.increment login attempts. Yep, asynchronous, right? Why is it stuck in an infinite loop? Shouldn't it immediately get to do we get here? And then return user.update with the user. It should have caught an error too, but it didn't. What is going on? Okay, so do we agree on something here, guys? 1. Inc login attempts is asynchronous. Does this mean that I have to turn this into a then chain like we did above? So increment logins, then do this. And then secondly, user.update is asynchronous again. If error, return done error, otherwise return done null. Do I have to turn this into asynchronous call as well? Because I think that's why it's stuck in that infinite loop now, because none of these can be processed because they're asynchronous. But it would have returned done, no? Even if it couldn't do this. It would have... Why didn't it work? Why is it stuck? Any ideas? Was that a joke? Or are we being honest? Turn all your callbacks into promises. I mean, I feel that's what we should do. This needs to be refactored at some point. Just understand the fact that the reason for this mess is it was simple in the beginning, and then we started adding extra things and extra things and extra things. So this can probably all be refactored into one easy flow. Because what we're doing now is adding the lockout, which we didn't have before. So it's kind of like trying to squeeze it in places. Are you sure it doesn't already support promises? What doesn't? Is this vanilla JavaScript? Hey Metallic, welcome to the stream. Good question, jeez. I don't even know anymore. Yes, it is. Okay, so we increment the login attempts. If there's an error, return... Do we want to return done with the error? Because then it's just going to continue. We don't want to return done anymore, do we? We just want to throw the error. Like, doesn't user.update updates return a promise by any chance? Where does it come from? Let's go check quickly, shall we? Wait, they recommend using save, so then what is update? Where's update from? What the hell is update? User.update. User is a document, I think. So let's see, is there update? Oh, there is update. Sends an update command with this document ID as a query selector, and then a callback. Doesn't say anything about a return. It has a callback, not a promise. Do you see that, Flesh? Usually they specify if it has promise. So what's the difference between update and save? Because you see here, returns a promise. I want to see what the difference is between save and update. I'm fighting a mosquito. Good luck. Mosquitoes always win. Just killed it? Wow, that was fast. Yeah, I have to watch out for pre and post update. Oh, as of Mongoose 4.0 query, middleware is also supported for update. Yeah, I read that as well. I need to remember to actually add this. I know what it wants. It wants me to do return. Nope, not that either. Ah, I hate when my linter does this. I had one return somewhere and it's like, oh no, I'm expecting a return everywhere. It basically wants a return right here. still managed to bite you 4 times? Jeez. While you're still active. I can't return next there because then it's not going to wait for this. And if I don't say return here, it's going to try to continue with this. Oh, why do I have to struggle like this? Expected to return a value at the end of the function. I know you did, but what do you want me to put if it's a freaking asynchronous function? Oh, I need to switch to async. Oh, wait. I can't take any more of this. I actually don't know how to solve this now, honestly. So we first check if the user is valid. Email, password, everything, etc. is valid. And if it is, this will help us in future projects for sure. Log in, log out, full admin system. So if there's a response, call next. The important part is knowing that if the password was modified, don't hash the password. I could add the bcrypt into an else block here, which would probably be such a mess, but I have to change the stuff anyway. Return next, otherwise return. Are you happy now? No, you're still complaining. Oh, I hate you! Expected to return a value at the end of the arrow function. I'm sure you did. But I can't physically do that, can I? There. If response, next response. If not user is modified password, return next. Why can't I physically return? Because if I return anything down there, it will do it immediately before it does the hashing of the password, because this is asynchronous. So if I have a return at the bottom like my linter once, it will return that. It will not wait for this to happen. Yeah. Hey FA, how's it going? So many new people. It's good to have you guys here. I think I solved it though. If response, call next response. But I just realized now I should probably call return here as well, because I need it to stop. Or actually, do I even need the next, now that I think about it? So you get in here because we need to validate if the user is valid for a new registration. And if the response is valid, you call next, but technically I still need to continue with the bcrypt stuff. So I think it's pointless having if response. Validate user, then man, I gotta rethink this, because response can be an error too. The way that I set up validate user, response can also be like your username or password is incorrect. So it calls next, but then I can still continue with the bcrypt hashing because there's no return. So it calls next, but then it'll still continue processing. Ah, good. Thanks, and you? Yeah, it's going. A lot of confusion today. Trying to undo callbacks and turn them into promises. I don't get it. You just need to return the promise. No, I need to hash a password. There's no promise here. If we pass the checks, we need to hash the password. I think if there's a response, we need to throw response, because it's wrong. Yeah, we must call next, and then here in catch it's going to call next with the error being what it caught. So in this case we need to throw response. That should be what we need. So if response, throw. If it's null, I'm actually wondering now, if response is null, because I set up response, if everything is okay, it's going to return with null. And null is not true, right? Null is a falsie. So if null will be false, meaning everything is good, hash the password. But if it's not null, meaning any error message, it will throw the error message, which will get caught in the catch, and then it'll pass next with the error message. Yeah, that looks good. That should work. Yeah, I know I'm returning it correctly. Flesh, I had that working. That wasn't the issue. I'm just double checking the what's happening in the pre-save, because I didn't have the if not modified password, because if I don't have this line, which I just added now, every time we update, let's say, a user's email or anything, it's also going to hash their password, and then they're going to try to log in and it's not going to work because their hash changed. So this is actually very important to add. Why don't you throw the error up there? Because it might not be an error. It could be null, meaning everything's okay. It's a multifunction to save me from having way too many things. It has to validate everything for the check to pass. Username must be valid, password must be valid, email must be valid, and we need to make sure that the user doesn't exist. And then finally, after all of that, it will return null. And because it's an async await function, which is beautiful, I don't have to use then. It will just act as a normal synchronous function. Yeah, but throw the error up there if it is an error. That's what I'm doing. If response is an error, and I'm throwing it. I don't get what you mean. Response can only return null or an error message. And if there's anything in response, we throw the response to the error and we call next with the error. And that's it, it's done. But if there's no errors, then we check if the user is modified. If the user's password has not been changed, we just return next, because the last part of this is to hash the password and we don't want that. Yeah, but why not invalidate user instead? Because validate user is a helper function. You could use it somewhere else. It's outside the scope of what it needs to do. Validate user will simply return a response. Null if there's no errors, or an error message if there are errors. That's its only purpose. And then based on that, when we get a response, because it returns a promise, we do this stuff. Validate user should reject if there's an error. I mean, I could look at it and see. So instead of return, you want me to reject? So reject all the... But can I reject? I didn't set it up implicitly as a promise though. Can I use reject like that without setting up a... Reject is not defined, yeah. Oh, you throw invalidate user. I guess that makes sense. Instead of return, we throw. We'll do the same thing, except then we don't have to check. It will go to the catch. Oh, the only problem here is I have a catch to see if there were any errors. Because it's in a try catch. I need to make sure in case there are any issues with the... Because it's calling other functions. So to ensure that there's never any issues, it has a try catch, and if I throw, it's just going to go to the catch. And what does the catch do? Just catches if any of these variables that are assigned have any issues. Or if something were to go wrong in this chain. And then it will just return. No, yeah. No, but I wasn't ignoring the error. I was returning the error so that I can respond. The user account wouldn't be created then, and the user would be shown the message that is shown here. I was just handling it a bit differently. I was still catching it. I was just if response. You just want me to throw and then it goes into the catch. Okay, so if I do it this way, that means I remove the try block. And I remove this catch for any errors as well, right? It's just the reason I had the catch here is to catch any error that's not of the ones that we have, so that I can specify user validation failed so we know where it came from. Because if I just throw, it might be a bit harder to debug. No, what I mean is I had a return, okay? It returns from this function with the error if username, password, or email wasn't valid. And then from there, I show that to the user. It doesn't continue, it returns with the error. And if there's an error, we call next with that error. And it doesn't continue. Or do it in the model. Oh, that's pretty cool. But what about things where you have to specify the regex like I have of the user needs to have at least one uppercase letter, one special character, things like that? I was returning in the catch, Flesh. Oh, you mean the catch? No, I wasn't returning in the catch. I'm talking about if there were errors. Specifically about the validation. Yeah, exactly, Flesh. I would have logged it because there shouldn't have been a case for that, because these return promises. The only three things that it's doing is returning promises, and if the promises fail, they would reject from inside of these. Reject with an error message, do you see? And then the value of this would be an error message. And it would never return this. I feel that the model shouldn't have any logic, Tutoy. That should be in services. The model should literally just house the structure of the document that you have. So all of this has to move to a service. So you want me to remove the catch then, Flesh? Because if we're gonna have it this way now, we throw an error for any of these that don't match with the error message that I defined. Because I can't have the catch here. If I have the catch here, the messages that I throw it over here, or through, would just land in this catch anyway. Well, actually, should I throw them and in the catch I return the error? Because then it will catch everything, including our messages. Actually, yeah. That's all we need to do. That's all we need to do, and then return the error. Yeah, it would have, Mike. You're right about that. Because I was back then rewriting everything. This was initially a promise-based chained with then, which was quite a mess, and then I turned it into an async await function, which ended up being better, but there's still some things that had to be changed. I don't think I need to remove the try catch. I can have it like this and return the error. So the error will either have our error message of what is wrong with the user's input, or it will contain an error with something that went wrong in that function, and either way it will reject. Hey Quicks, how's it going? Well, I'm handling the error, am I not, Flesh? I'm throwing the error and then I'm handling it. The whole point of throwing an error is to handle it later, no? So I'm catching the error and doing something with it. And in my case, I created a new user class called user response, which returns a JSON object, and then in my roots, I basically, well, for test, remember a lot of this is still testing, but currently what I do is then I respond in JSON format with the response, specifically designed for the user. And then what I do is, if the error is not of our type, of our user class, I return a generic error. There was an error creating your account, please try again later. I mean, you can still recover from throws. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm throwing this error to get out of here. Remember, I didn't add the throws. You wanted me to add the throws. I was just returning the errors. The whole point of this function was to be a helper function to return an error message so that I can respond to it accordingly. But then you decided that I should change things, so now I've turned them into throws. So I didn't have them as throws initially. Remember that. They initially just returned my user class. And then I returned that user class in next. So now because we're restructuring it, I'm throwing instead of returning. Throw will go directly to the catch. It will end this block. When I throw here, it will land up in catch. Down here. And then I return the error. So yes, it will stop. Hey Slayers. Day 120, did I start with zero knowledge with JavaScript? Yeah, pretty much. I'd done nothing prior. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Okay, let's do it like that. What's the point of returning the error? So that I can log the error in case there's something I need to check. If there's something critical. And then, well, it's twofold. Remember, I wasn't logging errors for server consumption. These errors were to display to the user. So before we had these throws, it was just a simple function that would return a user class that had an error object that you would display to the user. So we didn't show them the error message, the actual server error message. We showed them a custom message based on what went wrong. So if the username was invalid, which was handled by another function here that returns a promise, we will show them this. Instead of saying promise rejected, blah blah blah, so and so happened, the server's on fire, we just said, you know, your username's not valid. I'm just starting to learn programming and it's my second day. Nice. Yeah, just keep at it. Consistency is key. I haven't stopped to take a break since I started. And the plan is to go through 301 days and then see what happens from there. So if the username is invalid, you shouldn't do anything else except tell the user about it, right? Yeah, exactly. And that's what I do. The user is invalid. We throw an error. It gets to the catch. We return the catch. Inside of validate user, it detects that there's an error. It throws that, which then catches it and it passes it to next, which then comes to the controller. It detects that there's an error, and if it's of our error type, we finally return that error, and then in our route, I'm displaying that error as the response. Your original return statements make a lot more sense. When faulty, go back. Now you're still going deeper and wasting resources.
Slayer's Kraken 420 is following the family.
Hey, thank you so much for the follow, guys. Slayer's Kraken, is it? And Mikey W Driver.
Mike Driver is following the family.
Wait, is it Mike VW Driver? I get that. Thank you. 25-hour day. Yeah, pretty much, isn't it, Flesh? You saw me yesterday and we had like a 13-hour stream. Yeah, it's random. I can code for at least an hour up to like, I think my longest stream was like 15 hours. It's random. I would say average between like 6 to 8 hours a day at least. So you're passing the error through the whole chain when you could just throw it and catch the rejecting promise at the end of the chain. I mean, yeah, I guess kinda. Initially it was a very simple return reject a promise. But then it got complicated when I decided to add validations and extra validations and a function to handle that, because I initially had everything in one massive if statement, which was a mess. So I guess as time went on it got a bit more complicated, yes. But that's the point of refactoring, I guess. I don't think we should refactor now though. It will be a waste of time. It works. It's not ideal, but it works. That's the whole point of error throwing, yeah. So let's start from the beginning. You go to user, which will create your account. It's a post request, right? It will process the user. It calls process user. So we go to process user now. Process user is basically, we're going to create a new user. We're going to save it. But before we save, we call pre-save. Pre-save is where we hash our password. In pre-save, we call validate user to make sure that the user's data is valid. We need to make sure the username's valid, the password's valid, the email address is valid, and we also need to make sure the user doesn't exist. If at any point in time any of that fails, it gets thrown as an error. Then the response from validate user will be an error, so that gets thrown too. It goes to the catch. And then it passes the error on. Do you see what I mean? Holy shit, I'm starting with 1 hour. Yeah, I mean, just do as much as you can, Slayers. There's like really no limit. Do with what you feel comfortable. You need to love what you do. And you really need to love programming and trouble solving in order to get anywhere. If you don't, you're just going to be like constantly upset, banging your head against the wall. I mean, you still do that even if you love programming, but at least you know you do it because you enjoy it. not for any other reason. What are you complaining about? Exceeds, yeah, okay, whatever. So how would I return this sooner, Flesh? See, it's a bit trickier, huh? Wait, it's gonna return an error, but I should be rejecting it. If I turn this into a promise, if I turned validate user into a promise, then I could reject or resolve. So if it's a resolve, it goes to then. If it's a reject, it goes to the catch. Just throw it and don't catch. Throw to the catching class. Throw to the calling class. Catch or throw there. I guess I've just been so paranoid of something going wrong, but I guess that's how it works down the stack, huh? It's just a very long chain. Okay, so auth calls process user. Process user wants to save the user that's being called, but pre-save gets initiated. So where would the... Are you saying right here? Save, then your account was created successfully. Otherwise catch, error. Oh, that's what I do. This is the end of the chain, yeah. So you're saying I should catch here. If error instance of user response, return the error, otherwise generic error. I get what you guys are saying now. So what does that mean? Where's our pre-save? What's the best way to handle it? So pre-save, validate user. So you're saying I shouldn't throw errors or anything here, just leave it. I guess I've just been so used to adding a catch after every then or try. But you're right. As long as I'm not going to be using this anywhere else. Okay, so this can still return. This can still return errors, right? I can still catch these like I'm doing. I can still throw them and then catch it and return the error, right? This is fine. This doesn't have to change. So if you have a proper error handling at the end of the chain, you shouldn't catch, throw, catch, rethrow, return, recheck. Yeah, you're right. You just throw whenever you have a show-stopping error, and that's it. Right. Okay, so based on your guys' logic... Oh, I think I remember why I had the catch here now. It's because I could identify with an error message on the server log where the error went. So if something went wrong in pre-save, I have console error, user pre-save error, error.message, the full message that the user doesn't see. If I remove everything now like this, I won't know where the issue originated. I'll just know there was an error somewhere. It just, you know, happened. So how would I deal with something like that? Because now it's at least localized. I know each module and each method logs for itself. What's next, by the way? Like express next? Yeah, pretty much. It's next in the route. Is it really bad to throw around errors though? Like catch and throw them? Is it really that harmful? Like, are you gonna actually notice it? I'm just thinking in the sense of what if I reuse that function in another... Oh, I guess I'd use try catch there. In the very beginning. So this is a bit redundant, right? It's like a failsafe for a failsafe for a failsafe. It just keeps getting deeper. So rather deal with it right in the beginning than deal with it at every step. When you call a function, you should be aware that it can throw. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. And because I'm relying on multiple calls, I just worry about the first original call, right? Okay, what about in the case, because none of you answered, in terms of I specifically have a catch in each function so that if something happened in that specific function, I can be alerted to this happened in this function so I know where something happened. Because if I don't, it will catch an error and throw it back. Also, the reason why I have these console errors, at least in development right now, is because catch will only return the first error. There could be multiple errors that happen, but I won't be aware of them. Whereas my console errors will log every error that happened in critical parts. I have a server logger with PM2. It's attached to these console errors. So the client never sees this. Well, I mean, server side anyway, client wouldn't see it. Oh, I have custom error classes as well. I set up an entire helper for it. I just don't use it because I haven't had the need to. This is all just for the current development run. When I'm done with development and everything's working, all these consoles are gonna be removed. So I don't plan to have any of these logs. Once it's working, you know? I'll just catch any errors that might have occurred and log that, but that's about it. And that'll be sent directly to a database and then an email. But that's at the end. If you want to handle the error for whatever reason, you can. Otherwise, you let it bubble up, and if nothing handles it, it'll go as an uncaught error, which shouldn't happen ideally. Yeah, true. Steam working. Is that stream working? Hey, how's it going? It's going good. Getting there. How about you? Stop using orange. Orange is my color. As long as no one uses purple, we're good. Okay, so you guys are advocating to remove catches from all functions in the chain. Let's see, am I ever gonna need to call pre-save outside of save? No, I don't think so. So, don't have a catch here. No, Flash! God damn it. Okay, so catch is going. Poor Catch. What did Catch ever do to you? Why do you guys hate Catch so much? Bye, Catch. No throw. We don't need to throw. We don't even need an if response, right? Wait, we need to think this carefully now. Because if there was an error from validate user, we do need to throw though, no? Otherwise it's going to try to hash the password. And it will literally create a password for the user. So what about in this case now? If we got an error from validate user, I need it to not continue past this point. It will, because it's not returning a promise. It'll throw and go back to the calling class. But pre-save, this function is calling it. So it will return here. And it will get into the response. It will get into the then flash because it's not returning a promise. It's returning my class. Like I said, if I convert it into a promise, then there'll be different. Resolve, reject, but it's not. Validate user isn't returning a promise. How is it returning a promise? Well, what am I missing? Because I thought you have to explicitly define a promise and then resolve, reject. An async function always returns a promise. Oh, okay. But I couldn't use resolve, reject keywords. Is it a different kind? What constitutes as a resolve in an async function without the resolve keyword? If you don't throw? Or what would be valid? What would be resolved? How does it resolve? A return value is a resolve. Okay. But I mean, I could return false. That would still resolve. Oh, I see. So as long as I'm returning a value, it's resolving. If I throw, you're saying, but isn't throw the same as return? It still leaves the function, but throw will be handled as a reject? Okay, good to know. So return resolves, throw rejects. Okay, so reject, reject, reject. This is good. And also reject down here. Oh, that's why you're saying catch any errors and don't return, because otherwise I'm resolving it, yeah? That's what we said. So no catch down here. Also you're saying no try, basically. Get rid of the try. Just do it raw. If there are any issues, it will be rejected with the issue. And if there are any of these that fail, it will also be rejected with my custom throw. And resolving with an error is weird, yeah. But I'm rejecting with an error now. Okay, so we're good now, right? Reject error, reject error, reject error, reject error. And that's it. So all it will get is rejection. Shame. Or not. Wait, how do we know if it's valid though? I have to return something, right? What if I don't return anything here? What will happen? Right now, it doesn't return anything. It will only reject with a throw if something doesn't match. But let's say in an ideal situation everything is fine. What then? Do I need to add a return? No return equal to return undefined. So leave it because undefined. Wait, but undefined is false. What does that mean though? It's not a rejection though. Will it get into a then as undefined? I think it should, right? Because I've seen undefined in a then. But I should probably return true or something. It will resolve with undefined, yeah. I mean, do we need a value from it? I don't need anything. I just need to know that everything was fine. I guess I could return with true. That's the best option. What do you guys think? Return true. So if you get a true from this function, everything is valid. Don't return anything if it hasn't any meaning. Yeah, it doesn't have a meaning. I would just be returning for the sake of returning. Isn't there a rule though that all functions should return a value? Or is that not really true? Never heard of such a rule. Me neither. Okay. It's good to know. I believe I read somewhere, but I might have been mistaken then. But we can create a rule right now. Gang of 5? What's a gang of 5? Okay, so we're happy with that, yeah? We're returning nothing. We're returning undefined essentially. Validate user. So if you get undefined, you know it's fine. It just feels weird. Now I feel like I should return something. Oh, right. Okay, that's what we refer to them. I don't want to know how many anti-patterns I have. So you guys just think I shouldn't return anything, just leave it. Undefined, like... its sole purpose is to detect errors and reject them. Why do you want to return something that... I don't know, it just feels weird returning undefined. Like if you check it undefined, at least you could... if you checked it for true, you would know, okay, all the checks did pass because it's true. Undefined could be anything. It could have, yeah. But okay, it will resolve, that's all we care about. Then, it will get into the then. So we don't need the if response anymore. We don't need response either, do we? We're not using response. So I can get rid of then. I can also get rid of the user validation response. If the input is fault, it will return an error. If valid, it will process. No need to return if processed. Yeah, true. Okay, fair enough. If not user is modified password, return next. So as long, wait, if the user's password is modified, return next because we don't want to hash the password. So if the user is valid, and if the password is not modified, meaning it's new, we're going to hash the password. Are you guys happy with this now? Also catch, remove the catch error here. So you're happy with that. That's the final outcome. You call pre-save, it calls validate user. Validate user will turn an error, so it will reject. Or it will resolve with nothing, get into here, and either return next if the password has not been modified, or hash your password. Also, you need to hash the input password to check on the DB hashed. Also, you need to hash the input password? Oh, I do that in another function. Invalidate password. Hash password equal to user password. bcrypt.compare user password hash password. Then response, resolve, valid password, true or false, and the user of that. And then if there's an error, catch it. But now you guys are saying I shouldn't catch. Oh no, I can catch because I reject. This is a nice one where I resolve or reject. Why do I create a new promise down there? Because it was a callback before, I think. So I remember I told you I changed all callbacks into promises. I know now if it's all part of a single chain, probably don't need that. Oh wait, don't I need a promise because it's part of this chain here? Here, return user.validate password. This needs a promise, reject or resolve, and if it is resolved, I can call the then. That's why. bcrypt hash already returns a promise. It does. You can return that one. Oh, so just return? Moisture packets, hey. Welcome back, haven't seen you in a while. So I just return that object that I created. Return valid password, response and user. And then I don't catch any errors again, yeah? Just like that. bcrypt.compare then. I'm so glad that you're glad to be back. That makes me glad. I think that this is what FA was referring to. I don't know how user is modified reacts. Because the initial password is plain text. The database password is hashed. And I don't know if it's comparing the hashed one at this point or not. Because if it is, I need to put this inside of the bcrypt. But before I save. And you return bcrypt.compare. Oh right, instead of returning the promise here. Wait. Are you sure that this is right? Because I remember something now with the issue. Oh, wait, it should be fine. Because this is gonna wait for it, right? User.validate password is gonna be a promise pending. That I remember. It won't be immediate. You won't get the value. The reason I had the promise inside is I got the value first, then I gave it here so that I can destructure. Because if it gets here, it's going to try to destructure a promise pending. I think that was the issue. This is why I ask, are you sure? because it can't destructure promise pending. I tried that before. So the reason this was a promise and resolves here first is so that when it gets to here, it has an actual response, not a promise pending, because I can't destructure the promise pending. And I need the then to know the valid password and username so that I can compare them. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but it looks okay like that. Okay, so when you return, at least when I've tried to return a promise, the response that you get is promise pending, no? Because it's a synchronous bit of code, it wants to perform it immediately. What's causing it to wait? But you were already returning a promise. Yes, but I was returning a value that had an object. The promise was... we just removed... oh, so you're saying it's the same? I'm gonna have to test it and see. I'll take your word on it. Oh, I should probably go test the things now and see what is broken. Unexpected token. Alright. Man, so many things to test now. User. Now I can't get into user. Great. Wait, I did, but it's not returning that anymore. That's the user response. It's not returning anymore. So we know it got here. Wait, where did it get? It got to user exists. That was it. So wait, where did it get to? So it got out of here, and then it got back. Catch error. If error instance of user, it should have returned the error. It should have returned either way. Now things are broken. Ah, that's why I don't like refactoring like this. Everything was working fine. Yeah, make things a little bit better, but what's the point if I need to make progress? Can refactor when the project is done. Now I'm literally making no progress. I'm just moving things around. It's supposed to respond with the response. And I have no idea where it broke, because before I was relying on try catch or the catches to tell me each section while I'm developing. Now I have to literally go and put freaking tests everywhere. Let's see if it gets here. If it gets into the then. So the last thing it logs is user exists. That's all. It literally doesn't go anywhere else. Why is it stuck? This is the last thing that it did. User exists. Then it threw this error. Are you guys sure catching works in an async function? This is the last thing that it did. And then it threw this error. That means that it wouldn't get into this then. Oh, but next isn't called... Oh, hold on. Don't I have to recall... Don't I have to catch here and call next with the error? Oh no, hold on, what is the logic? Yeah, I think I have to call next, because remember we're in pre-save. We need to get to save. I think that's why there's an issue. I didn't pass the data on, so we're going to need one catch. Unless you guys disagree, then let me know. But we're in pre-save. To get to save, we need to call next. And if there's an error, we call next with the error. So it should catch that error here. Agreed? Yes, no? If something goes wrong, you want to call next, absolutely, so that the root can process and continue with the error. No, you don't want to stop, because then you mess up your entire server like we did now, and nothing is working, and it won't continue. You absolutely want to call next. It wouldn't matter far. We weren't calling next. It wouldn't process. It got to pre-save and that was it. Nothing was allowing it to continue in the rest of the middleware. So we're gonna call next with an error, and now it will continue. You see, now we get the response. Why do you want to call next? Go look it up. It's gonna be easier for you to read it than me trying to explain it. If you don't call next in your roots with your middleware, it stops there, and you have no handling to deal with it. Remember how you said that the calling function needs to handle the errors? Well, it can't get to the calling function because this is a pre-save. It's a middleware that's attached to it. Save was the calling function, but pre-save will get called because it's a middleware on top of the root. And if you don't pass next, it will never get back to the calling function. That's why you saw that endless loop. And now the endless loop is solved because I remember you have to call next with the error. Now that I called next with the error, you can see the error that gets displayed. The username you have entered has already been taken. So now if I go and change the username to something else, 123jmar, and I put an invalid password, lowercase p, and I reload, it should complain the fact that the password is not valid. Great stuff. And then if I make the password valid, but I make the email invalid, it should say that the email is invalid. There you go. Okay, so the validation is working as it should. Let me just make sure that my database wasn't actually saving those, even though it's saying it wasn't. Do I have new users? I do not have new users. Good. Okay, was there something else I needed to remove, change? I think that was it, right? I'm catching the main error in this chain down here. And the reason I have to catch an error here is I need to pass it to done. Sorry, not here. Pass it to next. Where is it? Here. Because if I don't, then the chain gets stuck. Cool, so thanks for the help. It's a bit better now, I guess. Gonna have to go and clean up everything afterwards. We did add 15 seconds to our lockout time, so we need to go and test that now. I don't know what we did in the end. But let's go try that. Any errors? Unexpected. Wait, was this now? Oh no, this was while I was editing. User pre-save error, undefined. And the reason we got undefined there is because obviously our function returns undefined. But it's catching that undefined. That's confusing. Thought it's passing the error to next. It is, obviously. Why is it undefined? Oh, it's undefined because there's no message property on my custom messages. That's why. It's not undefined. It's just there's no message property. So normal errors have a message property, but mine is a custom user class message. And that's why it's undefined. Okay. Never mind. So last thing to do now is to get ourselves locked out. I'm just gonna no. I'm just gonna save this so I can copy and paste it instead of typing it each time. Okay, so we are currently on 3. Wait, login attempt 0. Oh, because we successfully logged in right now, right? We don't want that though. We want to fail logging in. So let's fail logging in, see what happens. We get an object, what? Oh no! What's returning an object? This messes up my entire mythology of error testing. Now I gotta go figure out what is returning object. Okay, so when you failed logging in, but we're not locked, we should have gotten here. Incorrect password, increment login attempts return value. That was the last thing that was displayed, is this. Then if error, return done error. Was there an error? Increment return value. It's got N1. Oh no, that's part of the object. I think it should have been null though, no? Weird. Okay, so I don't think there's an error. So if there's no error, it's going to return done, null, false, message. And I think that's the issue. We don't want to return. We want to throw. Incorrect password, yes. So if error, we don't care about errors, we want them to go to the catch like you guys said. So we don't care about this if error. We don't care about what's inside of this. We want to throw with an error message. And then it should get catch. And it should call done, null, false. And then we need a response here. Because I think we might be in an infinite loop if I don't do that. Oh, we got some issue now. Unexpected token. Oh, there you go. Unauthorized, okay. Incrementing logins, okay. I'm the reason. Passport valid. Incorrect password, and then increment logins. And I don't think there were any issues. Error, incorrect password, great. Okay, how many more times do we have to do this? I think this is the last time we need to log in before we get blocked. No, login attempts 2, I forgot to reset. Okay, that's 3. That's 4. And this is number 5. Incorrect password, great. Okay, now let me double check in the database. This should be number 5, so if I try again now. Okay, login attempts 5. So now it should say we blocked. Incorrect password, clearing previous expired attempts and restarting at 1. Let me check if it did do that. Yes, it did. Logging in attempts are back at 1 now. Okay, so let us try that one more time. Seems to be working. Looks good. So now we have a little secured, little protected area. And people don't have to worry about their accounts being brute forced. There we go. Lock until. There's a lock currently on it. What happens if I try to log in? No, I think I was too slow. Yeah, I was too slow. There we go. Incorrect password, incorrect. Account is locked. Incorrect password. Collection.update is deprecated. Use update 1, update many, or bulk write instead. Okay. So wherever we do update, update 1 it is, then I can stop complaining. And then I'll probably break something else in the process. I think that's everything. Update 1. Gotta go. Thanks, Flesh. I appreciate it. Hope you have a good one. I'm gonna have dinner soon. Hopefully get some sleep and so I can better understand these things. Not enough. I know. Tomorrow's gonna be a way longer one. But thanks for the lessons and promises, even though it was a bit frustrating. I think it's a bit more clear now, and especially with the handling of errors. If I catch everywhere in one place, like even now I see I'm returning done when I should just be throwing errors. And I shouldn't be returning, I should just be calling done and throwing. So done and then throw. Throw, incorrect username. But wait, shouldn't I return here? Because I'm throwing incorrect username. I should also say... Oh, I already have null here. Null false. Message, error.message. Bye. Errors. I love that username, Chew Toys. Let's look at your errors. Yeah, that's nice. But I won't ever be specific on the messages, because then you can give someone a chance of discovering what the correct email. So I'll just keep it both incorrect email or password. You don't specify. But I haven't even added any error logging. This is now all just internal to login and log out. I have like basically no messages besides the 3 of telling you username, email, password, and even that is not going to be final. That's currently served in JSON format for me to test in. Later on when I connect my React app to it, then I will get the data through a payload request and then get a response in JSON format and then use that to display an error message in a modal of sorts. That's why I started creating JSON error objects. So this could be very handy later on. But let's see, for now, I could throw an error. Wait, I could technically start using my error messages here, can't I? I can. Now that I think about it. I might as well. I created them for a reason. So instead of her saying this, we're going to throw new user response. Dutch Chief, hey. How are you doing? Oh, it's another Dutch guy. 2 Dutches. Oh no. What is going on? You guys come to colonize again? I don't have any more spice for you. How's it going, Dutch Chief? So we throw a new user response. I just feel I'm going to duplicate though. Because incorrect username, I'm going to say your username is Oh wait, hold on. Is this only for username and password, I think? Yeah, actually we could just throw one message. If there's a single error, we're just going to throw the one message. I don't think there's any other need. We can just... Hold on, let me think about this. Can you speak some Afrikaans? Ja, ek kan 'n bietjie Afrikaans praat. Hoekom? If I get into the error, catch an error, console.error, passport authentication error, error.message, then have the message be a new user response. I guess I could do that. Message. I don't want to show any error. I specifically want to just show my error message because the user shouldn't see a specific message. So maybe I can do message new user response. How about this? There was an error logging you in. Please check your credentials and try again. What do you have so far? By the way, I had unexpectedly family showing up. No, that's fine. I was like worried, are you okay or something? It's good to know you're fine. Now, what do you have so far? You mean in terms of what I'm busy working with now? I have like a login and a logout. And I also have, what else did I add? I can't even remember anymore. We got stuff and things. What have I made so far? Yeah, basically the login and the logout and the storing of the sessions in the database. And oh, the new thing, the anti-brute force. You log in incorrectly 5 times and you get like temporary banned. So there's that. A bit of extra security. Yeah, I'll show you now. I need to import user response. Let's go ahead and do that. User response equal to require. Where are we? We are inside of. Where is this? Inside of config. Helpers user response. There we go. Because then I can go message new user response. There was an error logging you in. Please check your credentials and try again. And it's not account creation failure. It is account login. I'm not going to tell the user the account exists or not, because then, you know, they can just keep guessing until they find the right username. So that will be stored in error.message, and then in the response in auth, oh, res.json, it's going to be a response from process user. Wait, what does process user return? Process user returns an error message here. But what if we're in passport? Passport can also return something. Oh, but this has nothing to do with logging in. I mean creating users. It's got nothing to do with creating users. This has just got to do with logging in. So then what we need to do is in the login page, I guess again in auth. Where's our login? We have a login, don't we? We have an auth page, yes. If request is authenticated, ignore it. Otherwise, send the authentication file. Then when we post, redirect. Oh, we need local auth. So local auth is the function that handles this. And if it succeeds, we call next. But if it doesn't succeed, so that means I have to edit local auth. Local auth is inside of middleware passport. Local auth is passport.authenticate local. Ah, how do I show a message? You should use an enum for that. Also, I need the user to know what the error was. Those errors are specifically for the user. Well, actually, no, they're not. They're for me. They won't be enums. It's just an object that I will get the right property from. So where does done get called? If you authenticate, where can I access done from? So you get auth. It checks for local auth. But this will only proceed if local auth succeeded. I think. What is localauth again? Localauth is passport.authenticate local. Wait, let's test it. Maybe I can, whether I'm logged in or not. I'm gonna put login failed in there, and if it lets me log in, well, I mean, if it shows login failed, then we know it works, regardless of whether I'm logged in or not. But I don't think that's gonna be the case. Incorrect username. Yeah, no, it doesn't. That only works if we authenticated. Okay, here's another interesting issue. Cannot read property is locked of null. And I know exactly where that is happening. Oh, because the user doesn't exist. I need to throw. I wasn't throwing, that's why. Because I removed the throw because I wanted it to be in the catch. So I have to throw, otherwise it's gonna give the error on cannot read property is locked of null. Okay, so now if I do that again with the incorrect, it's not gonna complain about cannot read property of null, but we will get error incorrect username, local at least. This doesn't solve my problem though. When we post to auth, it runs through local auth. But if there's an error, I need to access that error. Okay, there's only one way I can see this working then. In passport.js, temporarily, at least now, so that I see what's going on. It's sending null and false to passport. I guess we could res.json temporarily do done.message. Oh, but we don't have access to res, do we? Oh man. How do we access done? I don't want user object after authentication. I need to know how to... Bunny Voodoo, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I pass a callback in. I'm doing good, just trying to teach myself how to reverse engineer an exe injector, discovering some coding streams while I'm at it. That sounds exciting. What are you trying to... accomplish, or try to find out exactly? I need to look at this example, and then I need to go to local authentication and passport. Hey Lynn. Well, this program is an exe that self-injects but requires a verified code that you input first, then it self-injects. I'm trying to get the source code and keep the features but simply remove the need for a verification code. Oh, okay. Sounds interesting. So here's passport.authenticate local. Oh, we didn't have a callback, that's why. I think I removed it at some point. So if I have a... I need error, user, and info. This will be interesting, because then this will invoke each time. This is beautiful, this is perfect. Let's console.log what these values are so that I know. Error is error. User is user, and was it info? Info is info. And then we need to close this on this line, and then we can comment this away. What am I missing? I've never done this, so it's all new to me. Just taking it step by step here. I can imagine. Is it going to be helpful to you? Like you're going to use it for some feature or something? Unexpected token, why? It's a function. That's wrapped up. This is a normal arrow function, no? What am I missing? Well, I use it now, which is how I got it bolt only. Can use it because I have a code after a couple of days it expires and I still want to use it simply. Ah, I see. You should have it outside the passport.authenticate, should be. Oh, I see. Yeah, I see. Whoopsie. I see what the issue is. My bad. Sorted now. I didn't see that. Okay, let's go delete all our logs. And let us go try to log in with incorrect details. And then hopefully I get... Uh-oh, we're stuck in a loop now. Password authentication error, incorrect username. The output is error null, user false, info. Oh, you get a message, perfect. So as long as I call it message with my user response. But now why is it stuck? Before it wasn't stuck. Oh, because I'm not handling it anymore. It has a default callback, and I think we just like we have to handle the callback now. So we log that. Then if not user. So what happens if it's not the user? They do return res.render, but that is all part of if you had request rest next. We don't. Huh, because I split it up with auth. Here it is. We call auth, then we call local auth, and then we pass request response. So I can't do any of the res stuff in there yet. I can return something, which I think can be added there then. Oh no, local auth will only succeed and get to here if local auth succeeded. How do I split this up? Would I have to pass res and everything? Tricky. Do you want it as a middleware? It is a middleware. It was a middleware at least. But yes, I do. It has to remain a middleware. I was just trying to see how I get the message, and now I see how I get the message. It's in info, which is good to know. If I returned, either way you would have to be logged in. It wouldn't return. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass request rest next to it. Only way, huh? Oh, but it can't access it. I can't pass next because... I don't need to pass it like that? It gets passed. Oh, does it? Nice. Yeah, there's quite a few things that I forget sometimes. So I can get request, res, next, like that. Error, user, info. Okay, that's better. Then rest.render. But now I'm doing things that I don't want to do in my middleware. All I want to do is send you back to the login screen. Oh, this is annoying now. I have a routes folder specifically with a file that handles all the requests. I don't want to start doing routes inside of middlewares, you know what I mean? I want to keep everything separate. So how can we handle this? All I want to do is be able to show a message. Okay, you know what we can do for now? Temporarily? Because this is not how we're going to handle things. When I have my app, it's going to be passed to the front end. So just for now, we're going to do res.json. And we're going to respond with message info. Wait, is it message? Or are we going to respond with info? I think info is the object, yeah. No, I don't want to specify any routes, any paths, because then it's outside the scope. So if authentication fails, we're just going to show the message. That's all. That's all I want. Just for now, temp. So you enter something invalid. No, we're not going to get a message? Okay. Why not? Undefined user, undefined info. Undefined. That's not what it was before. Authentication error, incorrect username. Yeah, I get that. Res.json is not a function. You said it gets passed in, Nolan. So why is res.json not working? And why is it suddenly undefined when it was working? If you're using localhost as a middleware, you shouldn't set it to passport.authenticate. But localhost is passport.authenticate. It's passport.js that handles the authentication. I'm just piggybacking on it because it allows a callback. And that's what I'm accessing. I'm accessing the callback. I'm confused. What do you want me to change? I just need to... It was working? Wasn't it working before? Oh, it was working when I was just getting error user info, but not request res next. I'm not getting request and res. Res.json is not a function. Because I don't want to do it on the root. Because then I have to do it for every single item in the root, you know what I mean? That's why I had a single passport.authenticate, then I can put that directly on to any root and define it in one place, and I edit it there. I wonder if I maybe have local auth inside of the root. Oh, but then I'd need it for every root page still, which does not work. Oh, I need this failure or success flash. No, but this is still doing it this way. And it's all part of the single route. That won't help, because I can have hundreds of routes and I'm not going to go and customize each route. The way I have it now is I configure it once and then I literally just have local auth on all of them that I need authentication for. Yeah, that won't help, because I'll literally have to do it for every route. How will I set on every route if it's specific to on post of login? I think I'm gonna have to come back to this when I've had some proper like sleep and rethink this, because I don't want to create something now when, like I said, it's only gonna be temporary. I'm not gonna rely on Passport to show messages. I'm gonna have my own system. But thanks for the guides, Lynn. I appreciate them. I'm gonna undo this for now. At least we got the brute force stuff working today, which is nice. What I need is when we get locked, oh, this is passport.js now, right? So if not user, throw new error, incorrect username. If user is locked, throw account is locked. Screw this. Get rid of this. Okay. What then? Valid user. If not valid password, we need to throw incorrect password. We're doing that. Great. Then, if not user login attempts and not user lock until, we can return done null user. Okay, because that means you successfully logged in. Otherwise, if you logged in successfully and the lockout time is complete, we return user.update1 updates. Wait, does update1 return a promise? Because if it returns a promise, I can't remember if this is now asynchronous or not. I mean, save is. Does it return a promise? Well, it's at the end. Does it matter? If error, return, done, error. I don't think we need a return done. I think we need a throw. Wait, this is trying to update the user. We definitely need to return done now user, or else they won't be able to log in, that's for sure. But if there's an error, I think we need to throw. Then we throw it, and then that will call done. Oh, but actually no, because it won't see it as an error. I'm wondering now if all of these that we throw. Oh, it's not an error. We only want to throw if there's an actual error, not if the user can't log in. That's not an actual error with our code, that's a user error. Ah, should be fine. Actually no, null needs to be called if it's part of the root. We need to return done. Done, else we get that infinite loop. So let's make sure all the points are fine now. So find by ID. Done. Error user. Oh, that's for the serialize, right? So if not user. This is technically not an error, so we need to return no error, null, false, and the message. Same as what we're doing here, null, false. Okay, so that is fine. We are returning when we throw. Account is locked. We're returning. Okay, cool. Incorrect password. Okay, cool. And then return done, error. Okay, so this is specific. We need to return an error. That's why we can't throw an error, because if it gets to the catch, we are returning null, and we don't want to return null. And we actually want this if error, return done error. Actually, will inc login attempts return an error? Can't remember anymore. Inc login attempts will return this.update1. Yes, update 1 will have an error object as the first one. So we can do error. If error, return done error. Otherwise, throw new error, incorrect password. Great. But shouldn't you call done with an error in the catch? No. that is just a user error, and we're passing it on to done. So for specific errors that happen in, like, let's say database call, like this, if there was an error, we return done with an error. But for everything else, if the user can't log in, that's not an error. So we return null, false, and the message from the error. And we're not returning the error message to done. We're returning our user response, a generic one, as to why the user couldn't log in. But we log for ourselves the error message. It should actually be error.message or error, because it can be either or. If it's my one, there won't be an error.message. Yeah, that's good. Wow, there was so much complication here today, huh? But I think we're good. And auto unlocks your account after you've been locked, so that's always good. So before I forget, I must revert this back to the normal lock. Also, it was pointless having the lock in place. And then all of these need to move to a services folder. Oh, it's coming along. I feel happy, like we literally created a login logout system from scratch and implemented Passport. And it works pretty freaking well. There we go, we're logged in and we can go to auth success and we can see our stats, login attempts. It's 0 now because we logged in successfully, so it resets. And we can log out. Any errors? Oh, this is the old errors. Do you know what Postman is? Yeah, I do. If I wanted to send these requests, but I actually want a physical login logout, you know? I'm not gonna use an API request. It will just be physical form post request, so I don't need to simulate it if I can just do it this way, you know? But yeah, I know what it is. It's not as fun if I can't see it happening before my eyes, right? And if we enter an incorrect user, incorrect username. You know, there's one thing that I just realized, Lynn. We time you out if you got the right username but you enter it incorrectly. Which I guess is a good thing, you know, to protect the actual account. But what about What about if the same IP address is trying to log in with different stuff each time? We need to block an IP address temporarily. I'm gonna add that as a to-do. Because that is where the main issue of the brute forcing is going to happen. So it can also help prevent like traffic issue. Because they'll be like getting DDoSed, you know? The form starts getting hammered with all these requests. And that's easy enough. Provided they're not using proxies or anything. To just check the referring IP address. And then add that to a database. And then after a certain amount of time you can have like a cron job just go and clear those IP addresses again. You don't want to make it too long for whatever reason. I mean, even if it was just 5 minutes, like it would do a world of wonder. It would not be worth someone brute forcing to get like 5 attempts and then have to wait 5 minutes. Like, imagine how long that would take. It doesn't have to be something too crazy. The 2-hour window where I block a user's account is just in case something did happen to protect that user. And then in that time they can appeal and they can reach out to someone to be like, hey, my account's like, you know, locked or whatever. And then the last step that I want to do is add 2-factor authentication. Which I think is going to be a fun challenge. I can't wait. I think it's going to be so much fun. No idea how I'm going to implement it or what I'll use, but that's going to be exciting because then that solves all the other issues in terms of security. Because then even if they get access, to the database, it's not really going to do them much good, is it? But yeah, I think I'm going to end things here for now. I'm absolutely exhausted. Gonna have some dinner, get an early night, and then continue early tomorrow. But yeah, thank you to everyone that came through. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all the new faces. It's so good to have you guys, and especially the old faces. Yeah. And to all the new followers, thank you. Like so many new people.
Cinny Poo is following the family.
Cinny Poo, thank you for that follow. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we're slowly growing. Things are getting even more complicated. I thought things were complicated on day one. It seems a complication never really stops. You just end up learning new things. But I guess that's the whole point of it, isn't it? At least for me. It would be boring if I understood it. I need to learn new things. So yeah. I'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, hope you guys keep well. Have an awesome one. Bye for now.